Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so thinking about the LA Clippers. Of course, you guys saw my video yesterday. I went down to their new arena that they're building and told everybody I think they need to blow it up. I don't know that they're thinking that way. And because of it, I'm looking at their 30th pick and I'm saying that thing could possibly be on the move. Now, as a Laker fan, I'm thinking I can offer them Beasley or Bamba or both, take back something that we can stretch and take that 30th pick off of their hands. And the reason why I say that is because what they are likely want to do is create some flexibility for themselves, some cap space. They got Morris they could probably let go of. I wouldn't advise it, but they could get rid of what's that other guy, the shooting guard that they had that came from Toronto, NBA champion. I can't think of his name at the moment, but he's somebody whose contract will probably help match some of those salaries. I don't know what their intentions are. Obviously, they want to re-sign Russell Westbrook to something minimal. They also have their eyes on Chris Paul at a vet minimum. But really, honestly, I look at the Clippers and I say, if they really are serious about building around Paul George and Kawhi Leonard going forward, they're going to have to shave off some of that other stuff that doesn't really hold any value and try to replace it with something that does. Now, bringing in the 30th pick and drafting it will go a long way in helping that because they don't have young assets. But I don't know where I don't know what they're thinking in regards to their team. And if they were thinking like I'm thinking, they'd trade everything. So as far as I could tell, I got to kind of think backwards in regards to actually convincing myself to want to build with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. And if that's the case, I want to free up as much flexibility with the rest of that stuff, including Norman Powell, possibly, because I think he's like at $16 million. I could free up that cap space and get a little more flexibility that make me a little more trade worthy. Because that's what I think is going on with the Clippers, in my humble opinion. They need to be able to make some trades to bring themselves what it is that they would otherwise want, unless they're happy with what they have, as to which I can't fathom that. I just don't look at Covington and Morris and Batum going into this season next to those two, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, as the way to go right now. They need to get better. Eric Gordon, they brought in his contract. It's like $16 million. I'm moving that. I don't even know why anybody would want that at $16 million, honestly, at least of all the Clippers. So that's one of those assets where you say that's a decreasing asset. If they bring that back this year and he doesn't have a big year, that's something they can't trade for the value that they traded it for. Letting go of Nuke Kennard, I just don't get it. So a lot of the stuff that's wrong with the Clippers, in my humble opinion, and what they'll likely need to do is either run it back if they believe in it, or do yourselves a favor like Phoenix is going to have to do and shave salary around the two players that you want to build around. You got to shave salary off. Now, again, Norman Powell, I'm hesitant. I actually believe Norman Powell is somebody you should keep. I've seen enough from him, even though he's injury prone as they come. When he is healthy, he's a very talented player at a lesser price than what you would expect from a player who can do what it is that he does. He's very gifted. So for me, if my timeline's not going to be thrown completely off, I'm going to keep Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Norman Powell. Zubac is on the move. Terrence Mann and those young guys, they're on the move. Coffee, those guys are on the move. Gordon, out of here. All that stuff we talked about, if it ain't a free agent, it's out of here. And I'm only going to be bringing back those three players. And I'm going to have an entirely new situation around them with more refined veterans, more equipped veterans to give me what I need, possibly some size, something like that. Now, I heard somewhere, I think it was Ticket TV reported that Pascal Siakam may have some interest in being traded to the Clippers. The only way that's going to happen is if they trade Paul George for him. Otherwise, I can't see Masai Ujiri taking a combination of like Morris and Powell back in the 30th pick and thinking they're going to get Pascal Siakam. I don't think that that's a plus for the Toronto Raptors. I don't see getting rid of Pascal's contract as something that's going to make the Toronto Raptors more equipped for whatever it is they're trying to do. Now, if for some reason they do change their mind, or if that's where they're headed, I probably am not taking back Paul George if I'm Toronto, if I'm trying to throw my timeline off like that. Because see, the way I see Toronto is they're a candidate to trade up to get 2 or 3 from Portland or New Orleans. Probably want Scoot. If they're bringing Scoot to Toronto, you got Scoot and Scotty Barnes to build around. I'm not saying Pascal is not a player who could be a part of that, but I'm saying you could probably move him and bring in a player that fits the timeline a bit better. Obviously, Van Fleet is out of here. You still have pick 13 unless you trade it in the trade to get Scoot, which is likely going to be what would happen. You would probably have to give up that pick, but you're going to get Scoot Henderson. You got Scotty Barnes, and you're starting your rebuild with cap space galore. You're probably tanking too, or just letting those kids take you as far as they're going to go. Probably won't win more than 30 games at best. So that's not the greatest path for Toronto. I don't see them trading Pascal Siakam this year, especially since Fred VanVleet is going out. They want to remain at least somewhat talented down there. They still got Gary Trent. Maybe they move him. I don't know what their situation is there. If he's a free agent, not really sure. I think he might be, actually. So it's a lot of stuff Toronto can do. But if Pascal Siakam is serious about coming to the Clippers, he's probably going to have to force his way there, because I don't see them winning the trade sweepstakes for Pascal Siakam if for some reason other teams are interested. But that's something that the Clippers should be thinking about as well. If they're willing to move on from Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, you could send one of them to a third spot. Actually, of course, Toronto would love to have Kawhi back, so that would be easy to do. But I think Pascal's whole purpose is to try to play with Kawhi, so that defeats it entirely. Paul George would likely be the salary on the move, and you would try to move Gordon and Powell if you didn't want to move either of those two, as to which, good luck. Gordon, Powell, and the 30th pick should not get you anything like Pascal Siakam. Not necessarily. Now, if you throw in more, be willing to take back some bad salary, you have to create salary space for yourself in order to do that. And you don't have any picks outside of that 30 that I'm aware of. You've mortgaged a lot of your picks for Paul George. So, depending on if they have any futures that I'm not aware of, maybe that can help sweeten the pot for them to get a piece like Pascal Siakam. But the point is, all of this points toward number 30 being on the move somewhere. Every scenario I see makes it so that the LA Clippers are likely going to want to be older, just like they've been getting, or just moving that pick to help create flexibility to maybe get stuff off of their books, possibly moving contracts that they don't want with their 30th pick to create that flexibility that may be available. But I just don't see them valuing young talent like maybe I would, for example, because at the end of the day, getting rid of Luke Kennard signaled to me that would be what it is. I'm not getting rid of Luke Kennard, bringing in Eric Gordon. That's basically telling me that you want to get older. Now, they've removed their GM, or rather he went and got the job with the Washington Wizards as their president. So I don't know if that changes things in LA. You know, still the same brass, basically. You got Mike Dunleavy, you got Jerry West. So, you know, I think their intention is to kind of just go forward with Kawhi and Paul George. If they still believe in what they have, then everything I just said is null and void. They ain't going to do nothing. But if they're interested in doing what it is that I think makes sense, which is building a bit more sturdy around Kawhi and Paul George, or moving them entirely, then probably the 30th pick will likely be on the move, because they're going to be wanting to draft somebody that's ready, and you're not going to get that at 30. There's nobody in the 30 pick area that's going to be ready to hop in and really help the Clippers right away. They're either going to have to develop them, wait on them. It's just going to be another coffee situation, and they don't need that. So, again, as a Laker fan, I want us to try to see if we can offer them Malik Beasley. That's probably the type of piece that they would love to bring in. Maybe not necessarily at his price, but a win-now player who can catch and shoot, a versatile scorer from behind the arc. I just think that the Lakers obviously have no path to wanting to keep him at that price, but the Clippers may be willing to bring him in if they still have that mantra about bringing in older guys around that age. Obviously, he'd be able to stay in Los Angeles. They'd be able to take something from the Lakers, which usually matters a lot to their franchise. So it's just another thing that I would think about. Like, if you're serious about creating space for yourself and you're serious about being older Clippers, I think the 30th pick should be on the move, and I think the Lakers have the salary dumps to give you, honestly. Mo Bamba, I think that would be a great piece to back up Ivica Zubac. I really do. We could trade Bamba, $10 million option, and they could pick that up if they want, put him on their books, or waive it and then have the $10 million free to do something else. But that's what I'm thinking. It's like they need those type of things in place. And because they'd have that 30th pick, they're in a much more advantageous position than, say, Phoenix, who doesn't have any picks at all, but probably want to do the same thing. So that's what I'm looking at right there. But again, when it comes to the Clippers, you just don't really know. They don't. It's almost like they actually believe what they have can win the championship, which is kind of like that's how I feel about it. I don't know how you guys feel, but if I were a Clipper fan, I'd be over that. It ain't done nothing. You built it in spite, and it's done nothing. Let it go. And so that's my attitude in regards to that. And you really do have a great canvas to start the situation over. If you just want to blow it up, your assets, Kawhi and PG, should still be able to get you a future. They should be able to get you all the draft picks to rebuild your situation, especially if you trade them both. And Norman Powell, I think, also is a guy who, if judging by how the market reacted to Royce O'Neal last year, you may be able to get a first-round pick for him too. You may be able to, depending on the team, especially if you start looking at some of these teams like the Pacers, stuff like that, who got like 3 and 4 first-round picks. You may be able to pull something off like that, maybe. But that's where my head is in regards to the LA Clippers. I just felt like addressing them again because I look at that 30th pick and I realize it's kind of just sitting there as a lone young piece in the midst of older players. It doesn't fit their timeline. They don't develop players that well, as we can clearly see. I like Terrence Mann. He's been good, but he hasn't reached his peak because they keep letting small forwards and other ball handlers obviously hold the ball. And he's just one of many. And it doesn't make for a very versatile situation. I think they need to bring themselves, again, Mo Bamba, Evan Mobley, somebody like that type of piece, tall, long, can do a lot of things for you, bring some versatility to that front court. Trenton Watford type of guy needs to be on the Clippers to catch lobs and just give them a bit more flexibility, and so they're not relying upon Paul George to play power forward all season long. Clearly, he doesn't work. Clearly, it doesn't work. They wear the people down. So I just hate what the Clippers have. Maybe it's because I'm a Laker fan and hate the Clippers, but even if they were the Bucks or somebody, I would hate what they have because it's just like they're in no man's land. It can't get where it needs to go because it can't stay healthy. The surrounding pieces are only but so good. They got an excellent coach who's trying to make it all work, and it's just not getting them nowhere every single year. Every year. And so now it's like, all right, we're definitely at a place where common sense should tell them that the window is closed on the championship for that core. Common sense should tell them also that this hasn't closed in regards to those pieces having great value. Because Paul George's championship window hasn't closed. It's the Clippers' championship window is closed. You see what I'm saying? If he goes to the right spot, he can still be a contender. Kawhi Leonard can win championships as long as he wants to play. You know what I mean? As long as he's available to play in the playoffs, he can be the difference. So his window hasn't closed. The Clippers' window has closed. Them together, built this way with Zubac as their center and some old guy as their point guard, whatever year they can come up with, and a bunch of other guys that are just swingmen but probably should be moving into vet minimum roles instead of getting paid the way they're playing them. All of that stuff is trash, man. They need to get rid of it. So that's really what I think, man. I really believe that, and wanted to reiterate it yet again because at the end of the day, that 30th pick is going to be pretty valuable. It's still in a range where you can get a really nice prospect. A lot of those guys at the top of the second round are just as good as the guys in the back of the second round. The first round, they're all in that same tier. So if you can get that 30th pick, or if you can get one of those first 4 or 5 picks of the second round, you're still in the money with a nice, impactful upside player that'll likely turn into something for you. Olivier Maxence Prosper, and these guys that we talk about a lot of times, Jaime Jaquez. I mean, you want the 30th pick. Maxwell Lewis may be available. Sidi Sissoko might be available. Noah Clowney, I don't think he'll fall to 30, but these are the type of things that you're like, yo, give me that Clippers pick. They ain't about to do nothing with it. They're probably just going to draft another swing man that's going to have to play behind Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann, and all them other dudes to keep drafting over and over again the same position. They ain't going to do nothing with it. So that's what I'm saying. Let's league field, call the Clippers and relieve them of that asset and give them the cap space or the old guys that they would otherwise want for themselves. So that's what I got to say about them, man. Irritating. Also, looking on into other issues, aspects of the Lakers, I hear the Lakers want to bring in Chris Paul and D'Angelo Russell. If you can get Chris Paul at a lower price, obviously you want him at a vet minimum. That's the only thing I'd accept. Anything less than that is not respecting what it is he's already shown us for the last 3 years, which is he's probably going to play like 30 games. So you want him to be your backup. And even if he is your backup, you don't expect him to play very much. So it's like here's the thing that someone else said that I think makes a lot of sense too. When we're targeting all these guards, we got to respect that this tells Darvin Ham to play all of them at once. You know he ain't gonna do right when it comes to 5-guard lineups. He believes in it. 4-guard lineups, 5-guard lineups. If you give him if all of his players that he trusts are guards, he will play them all. And I don't want to ever see that, ever. And so that's why I'm like, we need to be very careful not to bring him a bunch of really, really talented guards and then leave him with the rest of his team as guys that he could just rather not play. He won't play them in position at all. We've already seen this. And we will lose. We're going to have small ball situations where it's Chris Paul, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder, and Anthony Davis. And that'll be what you see. And he'll put in Bron and have Bron at the 5, and then have a bunch of guards running. I'm telling you, we're gonna really have a hard time with that if we do that. Draft Jordan Hawkins. That's all you're gonna see. That's all you're gonna see. And I'm telling you, man, the way things are going right now, we're gonna be calling for people to be fired within the first 2 weeks if that's the type of stuff we see, man. I'm sorry. We did small ball 2 years ago with Frank. It was awful. We did small ball last year, got to the Western Conference Finals when we stopped doing it for the most part. For the most part, when we stopped it, it worked. And this is one of those situations where it's like, look, I want to go forward with size, man. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Bron and AD, Vando. That's how I want my team to look. That's why I kind of don't really care for the guard position at all, because I know my coaches and I know he gonna play the guards like they forwards. So for me, it's like minimize the guards. I'd rather go big than go small. I'd rather have big guards and big forwards and big, a real center on my team so that we can at least have the easiest point. Get to the highest point quicker than everybody else. You know what I mean? Because I am telling you, small ball gonna lead to you losing. I don't care if the guard's a high level or not, especially if it's Chris Paul later in his career. You know what I mean? All the way at the end, basically, we're sitting up here saying, okay, Chris Paul come in and D'Angelo Russell. Like, who's guarding anybody? Who are these people guarding, man? These guys are cones, man. So that's what it really comes down to. I'm not trying to be respectful because I see where this is headed and I'm going to be irritated. So I'm already irritated. Y'all know that's how my mind operates. I see a problem before it starts. It's a problem already. Don't let Chris Paul go to the Clippers. That's where he belongs. They took him. They stole him from us. He made a legacy there. That's where he belongs, honestly. And Dennis Schroeder's a Laker. You know what I'm saying? That's the truth. So bring Schroeder back. We can trust him. Even though he's not a perfect player, he makes certain decisions we don't like. He's still in that ripe age where he's not quite old. He's a veteran, can help us. Been there, 6th man of the year, 2 stints with us. They both went well. I'm you know what I'm saying? I'm fine with Dennis Schroeder on a vet minimum or something like that. That is, that's I can count on him to play both sides of the floor. You see what I'm saying? Like this Chris Paul thing he's a name, y'all. He's a name, and he's one of Bron's friends, and I'm telling you, they don't get us nowhere. We do this every once in a while. We bring in one of his friends. Maybe it'll work out. I like what I saw from Tristan Thompson. But this is not the year to just be doing like, oh, okay, yeah, Bron's here, so let's just do. No, get him a team he can use, man. Get him a team he can really run with. Not just a bunch of people he can drink Lobos with. He can do that in the offseason. Yeah, you feel me? I feel my energy right now. It's a little different because I just see where this is headed, and I don't agree with it. You want to bring in struggling D'Angelo Russell at $25+ million probably. You want to bring back Chris Paul at whatever level, and then you're going to have him on the floor with D'Angelo Russell. We ain't going to guard nobody. When does Austin Reeves get the ball like he's supposed to be getting it? For what you're about to pay him, which is going to be righteous. You better put the ball in his hands. You put the ball in D'Lo's hands, Chris Paul's hands. When's he getting the most usage? Bron going to have to have the ball. When is, you know what I'm saying? These are the type of things I'm already seeing. Like, this is not, don't do this. You want Austin Reeves to be more of a facilitator. So you don't need to be bringing in guys who are going to be facilitating on top of him, on top of Bron. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're going to pay Austin Reeves the $20+ million that he's likely going to deserve and then have him at a lesser role than he's had before just because you want to bring in old guys to make Bron happy, you're going to draw down the value of Austin Reeves and you're going to draw down the value of this team. It's not going to equate to depth as those guys are going to be hurt anyway. And so these things we got to be honest about. The pull growing from Chris Paul is on the way. This happens every year. Pull growing. So it's like, look, I'm not signing up for guys. If he wants to be a coach on this team, an assistant coach, Chris Paul, welcome to the team, bro. I kid you not. If you want to be an assistant coach, I think you would kill it. I think you would help the young guys. I think you would be an asset to the team, just like Boogie Cousins back in 2020. But as far as checking him in, nah, why? Like, so he can hit a couple jump shots and then get blown by us? Why? So he can give a couple assists? I mean, what? I can get that from other players. That's my point of view on Chris Paul. I'm not disrespecting his game, but if we're gonna bring in the people we're done, why stop there? Bring me Reggie Miller, bring me Magic Johnson. Like, why stop? You know what I'm saying? If a guy done, he done, bro. He's done. He showed us that the last playoffs. He showed us that the year before that. He showed us that the year before that. Enough. I'm tired of the Lakers reaching for names. If he wants to come at a vet minimum, fine. If he wants to come in as a, coach or a special consultant, I support that to the fullest. But as far as having him in rotation and think he's going to give you 25, 30 minutes and you about to get Chris Paul-like production, study what you've seen. Don't take my word for it. Study what was done there. Show me what you saw in Phoenix. What did he do in the playoffs? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, let's not go down the path of doing agent games that are going to ultimately leave us in a position where our team ain't good enough. Because if we're going to be not good enough, then we need to not waste LeBron's time and send him to Dallas, not waste AD's time, send him to Chicago, and bring us all the young assets that's going to help us with our rebuild. Because if we ain't going to be good enough, let's not be good enough for real. So that's how I feel about that. I don't like none of these rumors that I'm hearing because it's going to make us less defensive, more likely to maybe hit a jump shot, but less likely to be able to defend the people we're ultimately going to need to defend to get to the dang championship. And that's all we're here for. So I don't want to be friends. You know what I'm saying? We can bring our friends. Like I said, this is the time for the friends right now in the off season. Let's drink. Let's go to the Maldives. Let's go to the islands. Let's enjoy life together. But when we get back on that court, it's business, man. It is business. And if you cannot physically perform, you need to be in a position to do a role that helps the guys who can. And that is all there is to that. So I'm tired of this. I don't want to hear about no Jay Crowders. You know what I'm saying? Guys that I know should be in the booth now. We are here, man. We are here. We need to start being honest about these things, because you're going to end up having these guys sink the ship, and you're going to fall short just like you did last year because you didn't do things correctly last year with the small ball nonsense that left us at a disadvantage. Ultimately, it made our team not as good as it needed to be a good portion of the time. Didn't get the wins we needed so we could have the path we wanted to be on. I do not want that to be the path we're on now, especially when we start the season with guys having foot injuries and stuff like that, for which they haven't had addressed. I hope it doesn't need to be. I hope it can just heal without them getting it addressed. But if we see any foot injuries from those two next year, you'll remember this conversation, because Brent told y'all they should have gotten that done. Guys want to wave flags in Europe, you need to be in somebody's orthopedic chair, fam, if you're serious about continuing your career. And those are the things that I'll accept, man. That's what I'll accept. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to get out there, you're going to wish you did everything you could to be prepared. That's the reality of it. When you start the NBA season with this much of the field being as young as it is, as capable as it is, a bunch of Jarris Walkers and Cam Whitmore is about to come up at you on top of everything that's already been there. And you want to come down here with Chris Paul, you want to throw the same names you had out there in 2012, I promise you, you ain't going nowhere. I promise you. I've been preaching this for years, man. You want to get older, you want to do stuff like the Clippers, you're going to end up like the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Nowhere fast. So I'm watching these teams. I'm watching Golden State as well. You know, they got to go through their negotiation process with Draymond Green. They're talking about how they may, listen to Coach Spinella. He seems to think that they're going to probably try to package all their young guys. Kuminga, Baldwin, Moody, obviously Jordan, Poole. I'm not saying I'm in love with those players together to say that I would want them to move forward as the core, but I'm telling you, there's no way I'm giving up young players for guys only going to do this for another 2 years. 3, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. And Steph Curry is going to be the mainstay. Everything else is up in the air. And if I can get righteous value for it, I'm considering it. If I'm Mike Dunleavy Jr. We ain't doing this, because I'm telling you right now, you let all them young players go, you do this with Draymond Green, you may have a last hurrah. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, you may have a last hurrah, but you're going to look up several years down the road, and all those players are going to be playing at a higher value on other teams. All them dudes you gave away, they're going to develop into what they're supposed to, especially Moses Moody. That's my favorite one of the bunch. I didn't already seen enough to know he should not be on the block. And I've seen enough from Patrick Baldwin, too, as well. Do not trade either one of those guys. Now, if you got to move Kuminga, Poole, I'd have been okay with that, because Poole just, you paid him too much. You ruined him, basically. You got to send him somewhere else. But as far as, and Kuminga, his style, I think he has a lot of upside. I've seen enough from him to know he can be explosive and electrifying. He's just going to have to develop somewhere. So that's what I think of him. He's going to be an easy easy guy to get 20 points, 25 points 3 years from now, 4 years from now. It's going to be very nice seeing him cross people up and dunking on their head. But from where he's at to where he needs to be, it's going to take a couple more years. I think he's also a breakout candidate for this year. But I like him a lot better if he's not playing behind Draymond Green and Kevon Looney and God knows whatever else they're going to do. So for me, I don't see the Clippers the same. I don't see the Warriors the same way I see the Clippers, because the Warriors have won a championship. Steph Curry's in place. And if Steph Curry says, I will leave if you get rid of my core, then you're going to do whatever he says. That's what you're going to do. So that's the problem with the situation. Because he has all of the leverage forever, and he has a lot left in the tank to where his timeline is the timeline you want to be on. If he says, I got to run with my brothers, then you're stuck, Mike. You're stuck, Dunleavy. And that's probably why I wouldn't have taken that job, honestly. Because I'm going to want to blow that thing up, and he ain't going to let me. And I ain't moving him in my rebuild. So that's the problem. That's why the Golden State Warrior job ain't exactly my favorite GM job right now. It ain't. Because what makes sense for the owner may not make sense for Steph. And if you ain't ready to part ways, then you stuck, and you know it. So I don't like it. I don't like the situation. If I'm the Golden State Warriors, I'm begging Steph to let me move on from his buddies. That's what I'm doing. I'm begging him, please. This is what's best for our organization. This is what's best for your timeline. Let me move on from Draymond, send him somewhere, give me a young player that can do what he does. Let me move on from Klay Thompson and bring myself back a bunch of value picks that can keep me going. These are the things I'm going to ask Steph Curry to allow me to do, and I'm going to beg him not to demand a trade for doing it, because it's going to make us a healthier franchise. That's what I would say. It just is. In the long run, it's going to make you a lot healthier. So these are things I'm thinking about. I know these teams don't want to do this. A lot of these teams believe they still have a window open for their championship. Maybe they do. I wouldn't rule out Golden State necessarily. But that whole timeline that they're trying to balance and trading away young players that can shoot and all kinds of other stuff, I don't know about trading away some of those pieces, man. Jordan Poole, I'll be happy to get rid of. Kuminga, probably move him too. But anything else, talking about Baldwin and Moody, absolutely not. I'm going to get right past this offseason without doing that if I'm Mike Dunn. Oops, didn't happen. That's how that's about to go. So, those are the things I'm thinking about, man. I'm irritated with the NBA that wants to continue to recycle the same old players as they continue to decrease in value. I can't stand it. And then the teams suck, and then the fans suffer, and then they have hard times getting rebuilds going for themselves after that, because all the value of the players that they had dropped to the ground. It's like, you got to know that you got to get rid of some of these dudes. You got to start your rebuild while your players still have some value, so that rebuild can go correctly. If you let those dudes retire on you or drop all the way out, bottom out, you don't have anything to trade. You end up looking like the Clippers do right now. You could trade the best two players, but everything else is just, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, why let yourself do that when you can just identify that the window's closed and trade these dudes while they still have value? Window's closed. All right, get them out of here. Get them out of here. Let's get something for them while we still can. That should be the only way to play it in this NBA, in my opinion. And we see so many teams not do that because they're afraid or because they don't think they'll find better talent or whatever. When you know better talent is coming in to flush into all of the 30 teams in the league. It's not like it's 300 teams. You know what I'm saying? If it were 300 teams, then it'd be a bit more fear. But all of the talent's coming just to 30 places. You're one of them. And if you have your picks, you're going to get the players. And if you're afraid to develop them like Phoenix is, then you're not going to get nothing, and you're going to constantly be swinging for super teams with no depth and getting beat in the first and second round, because that's exactly what's going to happen to Phoenix again, unless they do right by themselves and get themselves some future assets, for which I don't think they have a path toward unless they trade Devin Booker. And I ain't doing that. So Suns are a ruined franchise, whether they believe it or not. They're about as ruined as the Timberwolves are, ask me. We got two franchises in this league right now that I could argue, even if they wanted to rebuild, they would have a hard time doing so. Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. Because they don't have any futures, and the stuff that they have is either too good to trade or too trash to trade. The Clippers don't have that problem, because both of their stars are very much trade-worthy right now. You can still get something good for Paul. You can still get something good for PG. And obviously with the Golden State Warriors, I believe you can still get something good for Klay, and Draymond Green being a free agent. Opting out was a mistake if you are negotiating with me, because you opting out means you don't be here no more, and I am not going to give you what you're asking for, Draymond. I ain't. I know how much value you provide, especially after Jokic won the NBA championship off outside of point guard facilitators, I don't even know how to call that, but facilitators who don't play the point guard position hold more value right now because of Jokic. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you the truth. I am not giving that man $40 million a year. That is not happening. And that's exactly what I think he's going to want. So these type of things, I'm like, man, I don't envy that Golden State job. I really don't. Because everybody's going to be tiptoeing around Steph Curry, and Steph Curry's going to want to keep his brothers with him to the detriment of everybody. And that's what I think. I ain't heard him say that, but that's what I think. So, yeah, man, happy to be a Laker fan, but I don't want the Lakers to go down the path of these other teams. You can clearly see youth is the way. We were under 27 throughout every position we had last year except for Bron and AD. That's what I want to be this year. I don't need to bring in Chris Paul to make myself older. That I don't care for that at all. And people say, well, you can't bring in nobody better than him. I don't care. Like, literally don't care. I'm not going to bring in somebody who I'm going to be relying upon who's unreliable. See what I'm saying? I'd rather not even have myself start that process. Truth be told. And for those who thinks he's going to help us on the offensive end, defensively, he's going to hurt us, and we know it. So, like, these are things we just got to be honest about, man. And he's going to be on the floor all the time because he's Chris Paul. So, like, nah, we ain't doing that. Not if I'm running things. No. On a vet minimum, yes, because then I have all the leverage. And if it goes left, we can trade him, no problem. But on a real contract like Chris Paul's supposed to be paid, please. Not in 2023. 2013 for sure. 2023? Hell no. No way. And so, yeah, that's why I'm out with the old, man. I can't stress this enough. Out with the old. Player development is the way forward. Stop being afraid of developing these players. Stop being afraid of not having enough. Stop being afraid of veterans not being on your team, thus making you not good enough to win now. That is garbage. Veterans are not more likely to be able to perform because they got more mileage on them, and they tired, and they've been injured a million times over. I keep saying this. You want to make it through the end of the season? You need guys who are fit. Fit. It ain't just about experience. It's about fitness. You got a bunch of young players on every single team. Nobody has any experience. The guys with the experience are going to be huffing and puffing while the guys like Amen Thompson are dunking on them. That's what's going to happen. Mark my words. We are here. One of the best players in the league is a rookie who has not been drafted yet in Wembanyama. You better understand what I'm saying. Who has not been drafted yet. One of the best players in the league. This is not the time to be saying, oh, let's see if we can go reach in the past for yesterday's guy, because I remember what he did back in 2020, and he was really, really good that year. Even though he was old that year, he's really, really good. Let's go back and get him. No. Literally, no. Let's stop being afraid of the future. Step into it and anticipate players getting better on your watch. Instead of bringing in guys that you know are not going to get better, and you're going to let them sink your situation. So that's what I got to say, man. I stress this at least 30 times a year. So if you've watched my channel, this is how we get down every year. It's always out with the old, in with the new. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, you're just hating on the old heads. I am an old head. I'm older than all them dudes. I'm going to be 39 in 2 months. No more. Bring in the youngsters. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.